How many of you have read the letter that Pope Francis wrote for the idea of marriage catechumenate? It is a really great letter that he wrote for the church. I have seen many people give their opinions. When it actually came out, there was people that were wondering, is this going to be a long process? Is going to discourage people? Some people even wrote, Pope Francis is writing on a time when marriage is going down, so he is going to even cause more people to want to do it less because of that. I'm not sure you're gonna probably see my dog, so just want to say hi. Okay, so what is this letter about, and why do I want to talk about it? Well, I think it is a really good letter in itself, but many people were like, how do you implement this? Or how can this, like said, be doing at a time when it's more difficult, or making it more difficult for people to get married? So, but my take on it is like, no, it challenges to think outside the box in order to make what marriage is all about and make it more important. So the letter is about marriage catechumenate, and it was inspired by the baptismal catechumenism. That way a process, a whole process that takes times. This is more for the time with the adults. Taking classes, you're trying to know what the Catholic Church is all about, and making this process. One commentation that it was said, it was, uh, the Catholic Church has been treating uh, one of the kids as a favorite child, which can gonna be the people that actually use religious life. What does it mean by it? It's because to them, there's actually a process that they have to go through that takes years to make sure, is this truly what you want to do? There is vows that you got to go through in order to help you through this process, to this the aspect of discernment that you're going to be going through. And that's why Pope Francis says, it seems that we have a favorite child, because to them there is actually a process, which I believe, it is great and it's wonderful. But for the marriage, as they said, it is the same value, the married couple, as the priesthood, but it has been only given the attention to prepare them for the commitment to the priesthood or the religious life. But how about the married couple? Because they themselves make a vow, they says, until death do us apart, meaning it goes all the way. And that's something that has been expected, that they have to understand the couple that are getting married. So this is where this letter is going about. It's not necessarily to make it more difficult, but no, it's actually for the best, because they want to really prepare the couple. Now there's what I would call it two areas that are going on. The one area is preparation. That one will have three subcategories, and the next one will be the ongoing, which is one stage that I would call stage, because it is an area where you're going to be and to death do us apart. Okay, it is again not 100% explain how it's going to happen in the letter that Pope Francis provides, has endorsed, because again, what I believe is it is giving us the encouragement, like, hey, think outside the box, because we need to make this whole process, which is the reason I wanna make this video, because I believe he's calling me to go through this process, and I have a couple ideas. But again, what's on the idea of the preparation? They have the remote preparation, which is some people put it like, okay, right before um, getting people to the idea of giving them understanding what's going on, uh, giving them examples, and there was a conference that some people were doing, Shark Tank ideas, and people, come up with something. Okay, the remote preparation is going to be a couple years before we to get to learn about the faith, get to learn what is going on, and then that's the first area. The preparation is a remote preparation. Then the intermediate the phase is, again, it's not really 100% specified, but that's what it says. Okay, that's the idea when they are boyfriends, they are they're preparing for the idea, they're trying to understand what they actually, what the marriage is all about. Why is it a sacrament in the idea, understanding what they're going to be getting into. So that's the intermediate phase to, and then I didn't believe in that's the area where they want to say, okay, we're going to have a ceremony. Uh, and then some people say, oh, is this going to be like another wedding? Like, no, this is what I believe what it's saying is we have a ceremony, kind of like the engagement party, but at the church. And again, I believe this is the area where princess we are helping like within the vows, and they're going to be going into this. So, okay, we're getting engaged. We're inviting the community to help us. Where we say, okay, what's the difference between the engagement party and this? Well, on the engagement party, it's more like I'm here. Congratulations, thumbs up. You guys can do it, and that's it. No, in this one, I believe what is Pope Francis calling us. Hey, help them, guide them, see where they're lacking, see where having the community to do help them with this path where they're going. And then the third part is the catechumenical phase, which means when they actually now, they already got engaged, so they go into that phase where they're going to be actually now getting the actual paperwork, getting now actually serious. Now you're engaged. You are going through this process where now they're asking you questions like, are you sure? How you talk about this areas? How many kids? Are you guys preparing for this? So the typical, this would be like the idea where it goes, the typical, when you go to that church, like, hey, we're engaged and we're going to get ready to get married. This is what would be the typical area. All right. Now, what do I think? Why do I say I believe this is calling me? Because, oh, sorry, I forgot one important area, which is the ongoing phase or the ongoing area, which I call the stage. That's the walking together. You know, they are they already got married, so the church is like, okay, you're married, you go to your sacrament, and hopefully you come to mass. And that's pretty much what is expected out of them. But Pope Francis, the letter, is going to say, no, we need to walk together. We need to walk with them. One, and especially, it says, especially in the areas when there's the crisis or discouragement, because there's two people that are getting in a relationship, but there's two people that are hurt. There's two people that are still have sin within themselves, and they have to live with each other. And then that's where a lot of conflict is going to happen. Like any marriage couple found out, there's a lot that has to grow, And I believe, hopefully, there's older couples listening, but you're still having areas that you need to work on. So, but the church has let it be like, okay, you're on your own, and then when you are in serious trouble, come to us so we can help you guys. What if that's not the way to do it? What if that Pope Francis says we have to walk with them together? Because I like the part this is walking together because it's not just the idea of mentorship, because the same area that the couple that again I'm talking about, that is an older couple that have marriages, maybe they will find something in the early stages of those new couples. Maybe the older couple have figured out things that they can be teaching the younger couple, but maybe by them showing their experience to them, they will find out that they may have lost maybe that sparkle, you know, and the people that get in the mentorship actually might actually be the ones teaching them a certain area. So that's why I like when they say that we need to walk together versus you have to have mentors. Okay, so now I'm going to why do I believe the calling is for me. Okay, in one area that it says that it has to be all the way into kids. And I believe that a lot of people are missing that part, which I believe is a really big point and why I'm saying it's calling me of what I do. I teach dancing, where I teach the Bible concepts that the Catholic Church is trying to teach through dancing. And what I mean by that? Well, the Bible it's a marriage. What I mean by that? It starts with Adam and Eve, marriage. Bible. It tells a story, a letter for us that God had an idea for how the marriage had to be. But sin came in and altered. You know, I will explain later on what do I mean with free will and God's knowing everything. But for lack of a better word for me, it altered His plan, and now God sent Jesus. The Old Testament is all about this marriage, God pursuing Israel, wanting to be showing them how He loves them. So it is this marriage. Then comes Jesus. His first miracle happens in the wedding Cana, and then towards the end in His public life, we hear this, woman. So it kind of gave us back to this idea, like, hey, the new Adam, the new Eve. We have Mary being the new Eve, but also the church being the new Eve, the bride. So we kind of see that He's bringing to the restore us to that original marriage, trying to push us into that. And then in Revelations, Apocalypse, then we hear there's the wedding with Jesus in the church, and the church has been preparing herself for this wedding. So she, if you read it, it says that she's preparing herself. She has prepared herself for this wedding. So it's not just God did everything and pull us, and without our will. There was the grace of God gave us the ability to come to this wedding to prepare ourselves. Again, everything through the grace of God. Going into that. Okay, so if you have a wedding, and the whole Bible is a wedding, and like I said, I explain the Bible through dancing, or that's what my goal is to do now through here. What do I mean by this letter? Okay, what if we can start when they are kids? What do I mean by that? Well, again, it says that there's expectations, there are things that the society has taught the youth, ourselves, the older people. It says, look, this is what marriage is. But what if we started sooner with the kids what marriage is? And we can start them by preparing them again. One of the requirements can I for? church is coming with a free will to this. I take you and I do. But what does that mean? What does it mean that I take you, and for good and for bad? What does that even mean? And how can we teach that to kids? Well, this is what it is. We can teach them, teenagers, also adolescents, all the way when they can have an idea of dancing, you know, right now, losing the word for what it is, but kids that are in first grade and through that, teaching the basics of respecting another person, respecting another person's opinion, and taking care of, like, I am value not just by my physical or just by what I know. I am value for who I am. And I believe dancing can teach you that. Teaching respect, teaching roles, what is a male, what is a female, what is expected out of each, not that idea of the follow submits, in what it actually means by that. And again, that will be more later on. But within the kids, what does it mean to follow? Where you don't just do whatever the person is this and you don't do nothing. No, no, no. The actual follow has as much responsibility as the lead to know the music, to know the calling of the music or the dance, to know the patterns as the lead. And as people that have done ballroom dancing, and hopefully I hear this um, expression that dancing is like a picture where the guy is the frame and the woman is the actual painting. So what does that mean? That you're following, but you're the painting? What does it mean that you are the man, that you are leading, you're the frame? So these principles can be taught through, again, first grade all the way to that. So, and that's I believe Pope Francis is calling us to do that more preparation. I believe it can go all the way to the beginning when kids are learning how to dance, to know about self-respect. Because sometimes what the problem becomes in marriages, we bring our pain, our struggle that we had as kids, that we see our parents and we like that's the way it is, and sometimes they have not been the great examples, but we believe that's the way it has to be because that's how my dad did. Or example for me, I'm my parents and I believe okay that's the way it is, and obviously my family was not the greatest, but I'm thankful to God that He gave me those parents. It was not the greatest. I can tell my story a little more from that. And I brought that into my marriage. And I forgot my wedding ring. I will be in trouble. Um, so again, what if we can teach them? Like, okay, as instructors, I would like to eventually create a program that I have big ideas. Let's see where God wants me to go. Well, what if we have instructors that can teach them, like, and see beyond the dance? See, a kid that is reserved, is it reserved because he's shy, or is it reserved because he's been damaged of what's going on in his house? Sometimes, if you let them have a safe space, it will open up, and you'll be able to tell, no, that's not the right way to be a parent. But they are your parents. You have to respect them. You have to love them. But this is what a family is: loving and caring, and we are your family. The dance group is your family. You can be safe here. Like those areas that can be safe. That way, the society doesn't have to be. You see, promiscuity is what is gonna solve that aching of belonging. What if we provide that within the church? Dance groups where they can learn that and be like, I'm part of that. And I have from a friend that says they have this group of dancers, and she says, why this might not be your dance group for you, why this might not be something that you want to become part of my dance studio. If you are here because you want to be the best and to prove to somebody else that you're the best, or that you're here for because you want the trophy, maybe my studio is not for you. That's why we can have it in church, where it's not about winning the trophy. We can have performances, for Mother's Day, Fathers, because they do think they get forgotten. Kids Day in Mexico, we have Dia del Niño, and events, uh, 4th of July. So we can have this. We can have that. Again, so that's the remote preparation. How about the intermediate phase? Well, yeah, and I am teaching young adults, the Bible. Now, on this one, what it means, we can actually teach Ephesians 5:22. Women, submit to your husbands. And, oh, believe me, there are a lot of women that they say like, no, 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 this is misuse, this that. But what if actually God is calling you to do that? Once you're gonna go get to marriage, you are going to follow this. Like, then wouldn't you start paying more attention? Like, okay, I'm going to do this, then I really need to make sure who this person is. I really need to look for the red flags. Again, and this is going to be all the time. And how can we do that through dancing? Well, I believe dancing, and I will hopefully show later on with more actual particular dances. You can show there's the guy that push and pull. Is that who's he gonna be in the marriage? I'm like, but maybe at the beginning, you're trying to be everything nice and this. But then dancing will bring and challenge the guy to his core, because most guys get intimidated by dancing. Why? Because you have to listen to the music, and you have to make an interpretation into the music, and you have to express it. What is one problem that guys have? I have, honestly, and I think I will be in this. How can we express what we feel? How can we express it and not just express it and however it comes? No, express it properly in a way that we can communicate it to our female partner, to our follow, that she will understand it. And it will be in a way that it becomes an invitation. Again, so this is concepts that can actually be taught through dancing, that are going to be really practical for marriage when you eventually get to marriage. How do you do this? How do you resolve an issue? How do you resolve an issue that is very basic, but very important? Well, I believe there's stage where you can resolve a problem in dancing in those same steps that you're going to be doing, that I hope to break apart what I mean by that. But how can you do that in dancing? And how can they use those principles of resolving an issue with the dance, save those same issues, and put it into their marriage? So give them the tools, like, hey, this is what it is. And at the same time, telling them, like, this is a commitment that you're going to get it into. So really pay attention to this. Really see the red flags. What are the things that the woman has to do? What are the areas that the woman has to put? Like I said before, there's a lot of responsibility for the female to know the dance, to know the rhythm, to know style. Well, you have to do that for the dance, but in marriage too. How can you be able to say, I challenge the man, but when you're called to be a follow, but still challenge it, where it's not becoming a way of dominance, like this is what it has to be done, but a helpful challenge for the guy. Then, if you go and see that the guy is actually following the music, meaning following God, if he's truly wanting to do that, how can he accept that criticism of, oh, you know, you really have a good ballet point, and focus on that? Maybe I'm doing this particular step dance wrong, and I need to make this dance work. Let me listen to that part. Maybe I'm not hearing something within the music, or I'm not hearing something or within my steps, or I'm not understanding something within my steps that you're actually perceiving as a female, like you're offbeat every time you do these particular steps. You know, again, that would be the intermediate phase as when they're boyfriend and girlfriend, learning really principles that can be done through marriage. Because again, now when you have people that are getting boyfriend girlfriend, the idea is you're dating because you want this person for marriage. So how you been talking about this? How you been talking about that? And how do you do it with dancing? You know, and I hope to provide a program where I give the syllabus of the dance, but also the syllabus of things to talk about, things to do besides the dance when you're gonna date, when you have conversations, what conversations you need to have within dancing for the marriage. And now when you're actually married, or sorry, when you're actually in a marriage, so more principles, the ecumenical phase, again, this can be more preparing them for then, which again can be the same idea, um, giving them more precise but a continuation. They're gonna be more mainly focusing on the wedding, but they want to do first wedding dance. And believe me, this is the area where true fights can come in because they are struggling and they're like, you're always like this. Yes, you're not paying attention. And then they come and they bring their struggles that they're having because of the wedding, again, the anxiety. So again, this is the area where bring this. And because when they're boyfriend and girlfriends, yes, 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 you did everything great. Yes, I will listen to you no matter what, because we are at that stage. Now, when you're getting ready for marriage, the again, anxiety is he the right one? Am I making a mistake? And the red flags, I believe, are can come in there. And to dancing, let's point it out. Let's see it. Again, somebody that is having the idea to teach you to dance for your first wedding, but still keeping an eye for those. And being somebody there, like getting to know the female, the groom and the bride, or sorry, but the female, the male, and seeing them as an observer and seeing like, hey, maybe this is the area you guys need to talk about. Because again, it is something that not as a discouragement, but to see, hey, honestly, are you sure to the stuff? But not as a discouragement, because to prove them this is for life. So this is a commitment that you're not doing it just to her, you're making a commitment to God. And you have, the male, you have to die to yourself in this situation. And you're gonna die to yourself in this. Then once you make the commitment to God, you have to do it this way. And you're gonna follow this. Not because, oh, if you see you're gonna go for somebody else and it will be easier. Because if anybody tells me that are married for a long time, that they say, oh, this was a piece of cake, there was no struggle in our marriage, please somebody tell me that. And I might be wrong. I might be wrong that there's everybody had the movie happy ending of happy ever after and then went to the clouds right after marriage. No, marriage, that's when it starts. The what came together into death do us apart. Because even though you work out those things, you have the principles, it is putting it into practice. Putting it into practice. Yes, I did learn this particular stage that I thought I was going to be using it for my marriage, but now when I actually have to implement it, when I actually have to listen, when now I don't have this wedding where rainbows are in the horizon, where it's now actually this is the real deal. Let's work together. And I believe dancing is still helpful in there because there are areas where can be areas where it can be helpful to, hey, maybe you didn't learn this area, maybe um, there's a couple areas like, okay, we did learn how to resolve problems with dancing. I believe we were going to do it this way, but we have this particular problem. Oh, man, through dancing, let me show you how it's actually applied. Let's do it dancing, let's work it out through dancing, and then are you willing to talk about it? And then, sometimes couples, they do want to go out dancing. Date nights, let's go out some this. But you're creating a community. Hopefully, my idea is having couples together where we can create some dreams. Um, that you go there and can say, I'm struggling with this and I need help. I really want to do it, but don't know how. And maybe somebody on the outside can be, maybe you should try it this way. And again, it is me calling for help, but also want to help people. So I believe dancing, it is a marriage. Again, I want this to be an answer to that letter. I believe dancing is an answer. Thank you.